Hey guys, I want you to close your eyes and imagine this. A world without violence. Can you see it? Do you think it's possible? Can we really do it? My guest today thinks so. She really believes it. And so that is the situation we're going to have a conversation about right now.
Situations and conversations with Trey Renee. Situations and conversations with Trey Renee. Real situations, real conversations. Empowering the community leads to elevation. Entertainment and education, no better time than now. Pure enlightenment for the crowd. This is Situations and Conversations with Trey Renee.
Hey, welcome to Situations and Conversations. I am your host, Trey Renee. So happy that you are joining us today for a very important conversation. Imagine a world without violence. Ooh, is it really possible? My guest says yes. I would love for you all to meet. Not only is she a professional, but she's also my friend. Michelle Bart of the National Women's Coalition Against Violence and Exploitation, otherwise known as NWCAVE. Michelle Bart, everybody.
Hey, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here, friend.
Thanks
How
for
have you
having
been?
me. Oh, it's been a long road.
Yeah,
long
I know.
road.
You do serious work, day in and day out.
Yeah.
So let's talk about NWCAVE.
Okay.
Well, really, let's talk about this world without violence. How did you even come up with this idea? Because it seems like the world has been violent from the beginning.
Great segue. You're on Martin Luther King. It was because of Dr. King's weekend. Used to be the weekend we'd always do our anti-violence conference, our human trafficking conference. And so years ago, we asked to paraphrase his I Have a Dream speech. We have a dream, a world without violence. And yeah, we have a dream for a world without violence, but it takes all of us to make that happen.
Well, how exactly does NWCAVE go about making that happen? What exactly do you do?
Okay, so we have awareness. Our whole focus point and mission has always been on all genres of violence, which is broad, obviously, especially in the environment we live in with gun violence now. And so we try to educate and bring awareness through campaigns, trainings, education, conferences, etc. And then when those don't work, or we try to instill that children shouldn't run away or children shouldn't post on the internet, when they do and they're taken or they disappear, we have a division for that, which is our National Missing Children's Division. And through that, we then get involved on cases when a child goes missing. And so many of the cases, unfortunately, our goal is to bring the faces and cases visible and bring the person home one way or another. Mm-hmm. Sadly, we've attended more funerals than celebrations. But at the end of the day, our goal is to bring the child home so that parents can begin closure. Unfortunately, in recent times, so many of our cases have turned into murder cases, and we can't leave the families, so we're still there.
Yeah.
So there's so many different things, and we have a fun program that deals in bras.
I remember that. Okay, so full disclosure, Michelle and I have been working together for a really long time.
Really long time.
We actually met on a television set.
Yes, we did.
Many, many years ago.
Yep.
There was an old show.
Yep.
We won't talk about it here, but it was an old show.
Yep.
And we
not that world.
but we connect immediately. We were able to have an immediate connection around shared goals, which is basically really wanting a safe environment for all people, but especially women and children. Why do you think that women and children are in so much danger in our country?
Because we're second-class citizens, and we're the majority in the world. But yet, when it comes to having a voice at the table and our rights being heard. We're minorities. It doesn't matter the color of your skin when it comes to the fact that your gender makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, so many times, let's take rape kits. We work on ending the backlog of rape kits. Why are rape kits of certain individuals, certain lifestyles, certain colors, certain cultures, the ones that are tested last? You know, there's an injustice to that. We can't live in a world free of violence if we're all part of the problem.
Yeah.
And all of us somehow are part of the problem, whether we know it or not. And so when you say pimp my ride, or you say, you know, give me a headshot, and I'm using that because as a media consultant, that's what we've always asked for.
Yeah.
Now with all the murder cases we're on that has had to do with gunshots and murders, I'm trying to get away from that terminology.
Wow.
Because by saying that, I know what I'm asking for, but then it brings a new perspective.
I never
My
thought about
ride
that.
or food porn, all of those. Nothing good about porn, nothing good about a pimp. All of those individual characteristics cause harm, cause issues in our society that leads to violence. So it's bringing that awareness out in the open and saying, you know, what we're trying to, just like, you know, when we're working together on trying to end violence, we all have to be there together to do it. We all have to be accountable for our actions. You know, not all cops are bad. Not all, abusers have done it before. Not all, you know, and that's okay. But when you've done something bad, when there's a bad seed in the bunch, it's time to call for justice and time to call for accountability. And our whole focus and shift for NWK the past couple years have really shifted into advocacy.
Yeah.
You know,
I
and so
see
now
that.
we're focusing a lot more on that because people need to have a voice for the victims, like in Miche and Layla's case.
And we're going to get to that in just a second
Yep.
because that's a big one.
That is a big one.
That's a big one. But I have noticed the shift with NW
Yeah.
Cave.
We've shifted.
And so you guys have your fingers in a little bit of everything around advocacy, both on like a political level, but also on the interpersonal right there with survivors level as well. And so you mentioned a very, very high profile case that's happening right here in the Pacific Northwest right now.
Yeah.
So tell us about that particular case and how NW Cave got involved.
We were asked to come on to the case of missing mother and daughter, Miche and Layla. And we came on to the case and we started the media and doing what we had to do.
And who contacted you?
The family.
The family.
The family. Actually, other individuals from other cases, like Angie Dean's case, her mother reached out. A cousin of Ashanti Kandi, which was a case of ours, and her remains were found a year and a half or so ago. Mm-hmm. And so they reached out and said, are you on this case? We don't tend to be an ambulance chaser, as they say in legal terms.
Okay.
We don't go to the families. The families have to come through us. Many times they've come through us via media, reporters, police. That's who we prefer because then we're working with police and not against them. And we have a really good relationship with Vancouver Police Department and Clark County Sheriff's Office. So for this jurisdiction, it works. Other jurisdictions, not so much, especially if we're not active in that community. We're very active, obviously, in the Pacific Northwest. So, so then we come onto the case, we build what we have to do, we release information that we believe is going to be essential to finding a missing person. And in this case, it was a mother and daughter. And then the day that we were distributing flyers, we had about 50 volunteers, and the detective had said, let's put the flyers in this area. We believe that some people know something. And as soon as we were out there, we got word.
Wow.
And so,
I mean, first of all, it was all over the news. And then I saw you all over the news, and I honestly had a little bit of a sigh of relief because I know you personally and professionally. And I knew that if NW Cave is involved, that we're going to get some answers. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but in this particular case, things moved very quickly.
they do.
So talk about what happened when their bodies were found. Unfortunately, that was the discovery. They were not found alive.
No, they weren't, and we're privy to some information.
And I know you can't talk about certain details because it's
still
pending,
an active case.
Yeah.
But we're given information, and we're on the case as the spokesperson, yes, of the family, but also as the agency that's taken the weight off the family.
Understood, like a liaison, so to speak.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Law enforcement agencies, that's not their job. You know, what their job is to bring Miche and Layla home, and they did that.
Yeah.
And we're very grateful for all of the agencies. There were 3 or 4 agencies that were able to do that in this particular case, and very quickly. Ultimately, now most agencies that may do similar things that we do, we're still there.
Yeah.
We're still going to be their advocate. We're still going to be their voice. And so many families that we have represented, whether it's Nikki Kuhnhausen to Cara Nichols to Yashani Vaughn. Yashani Vaughn is actually Miche's cousin.
What?
And we did not know that
Oh,
during
my
this whole
goodness.
time until the family was cleaning Miche's apartment. And Nicole, our client, the mom of
Nicole is,
Miche's.
right, she's the grandmother
Correct.
to the
And
victims.
she's actually our client.
Yeah.
And so she texted me one night at midnight saying, did they ever find this girl? I found this flyer at Miche's apartment.
Wow.
And so when I shared it with somebody from Yashani's family, her aunt said that's her paternal grandmother or something like that. So it was her father, which Miche's father passed away 7 years ago trying to save somebody on the freeway. He was connected, and it was somebody in his family. So actually it was her cousin.
Wow.
And we worked that case for 4 years.
And I remember that.
And that's a very sad case in itself too, because we just had the funeral of her mom and grandmother that were our clients back in December of last year. So it's like that 6 degrees of separation. It seems like everybody's connected in some way.
And your clients, they don't pay for your services.
It depends on the clients.
Okay.
So we've had clients in the past that do retain us.
Okay.
We've had other clients that have come through law enforcement. We have partnerships with law enforcement, so we take the cases pro bono. We have people that legally, we say, give us $1, and you're our
And
client.
now you're the client.
Right, but we set the standards. We say, because it takes so much work. Just 2 weeks ago, I clocked, without even probably missing some days, 92 hours. And that was the weeks leading into the vigil, the funeral, and we handled all of that for the family. So what people don't understand, families, no matter who you are, big or small, local case to high profile case. The bloggers will blog and they will attack, especially on fundraising. So we say, bring it on. We're going to launch the fundraiser. So we worked with the family on the GoFundMe. Mm-hmm. We have a memorial account set up at our bank in Vancouver for individuals that want to write checks, etc. And we do that with most of our cases so that the public then can come and ask us, because we're an open book as a public charity. So we try to take the heat off. In this particular case, we did a lot of advisement, and we still continue to do that because we're still on the case. Advisement such as, it needs to be a closed casket. It doesn't matter what the girls look like, it needs to be a closed casket because people will capitalize off of a photo. So we kept, and I joined the family in visiting the girls, and I didn't think I would want to do that. And I was the last to see them before they closed the casket. And
wow.
And Evergreen Memorial Gardens did a fabulous job. Wow. And so they put both girls in one casket. I picked out the stuff, and then the family came in a couple days later, and they picked out the same stuff, and Nicole said, Michelle knows me really well. And when I say small world, her sister is my insurance agent, and I didn't know that going into this either. And so it's been, this family will always be a part of NW Cave and part of my life from this point forward, because it was a heinous act that didn't need to happen, and we could talk about the politics of it in a second, but ultimately we decided, instead of having two funerals, the girls, they were inseparable. They were glued at the hip.
The mother and daughter.
Yeah.
Michelle and Layla.
She was such a good mom, and she loved Layla so much. And so it was decided to bury the girls together. And the way they did everything and fixed them, despite the damage to them from the shooting, they looked beautiful. And some family members, not Nicole, but some family members did a private visitation the day before the funeral. And again, Evergreen Memorial Gardens can't say enough. They stepped in, they donated the plot, and then ultimately we decided it needed to be a private ceremony, but we needed media there. And so we reached out to a local paper, and we reached out to a local network and made them the pool, press pool for that purpose. And then reporters were able to be on property and photographing. That needed to happen in this case to set the stage for justice for the girls.
Okay, let's stop right there and talk about what justice could look like. Okay? Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Oregon Health Authority, helping people and communities achieve optimum physical, mental, and social well-being.
XB will instantly immerse you in an intimate experience with Black communities and cities all across the nation. Our first pillar, Connection, provides information about upcoming events and activations for the mind, body, and soul. Our second pillar, Culture, will be our bridge to the consciousness of our community, united in evolution. And our third pillar, Community, will provide a convenient avenue to various goods and services offered by African American retailers and entrepreneurs. Connection, Culture, Community, XB.
Thank you so much for watching Situations and Conversations today. I am here with Michelle Bart of NW Cave, the National Women's Coalition Against Violence and Exploitation. We're having a very emotional chat about a recent high-profile case that you have been working on day and night, you and the team, for Miche Melendez and Layla Stewart.
Yep.
Let's talk about what justice looks like for those two amazing girls. They do have a suspect, or at least an alleged perpetrator.
He's behind bars without bail. He is also accused of another murder in Arkansas.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah. And so that was a known thing. In March, the beginning of March, he was tried or charged with the shooting. He tried to shoot Miche at her apartment. And so he was charged with that, and they gave him a $100,000 bail. That was what the prosecutor asked for, and that's what the judge granted. There was no electronic monitoring. There was nothing handed down that would have been a deterrent for him to achieve what he did a few days after he got out, which was killing the girls.
I know. And that's why you say this could have been prevented. This could have been avoided. But here we are, and NWK on the front lines, still fighting for the family. How is the grandmother and mother Nicole doing?
Nicole is holding up better than she was. We were worried about her in the beginning because she wasn't talking, she wasn't eating, now she's a pissed off mother and grandmother. And we have a long road to go. We have hearings galore on his issues in Arkansas that are being heard here in Clark County. We have hearings here for the murders of Miche and Layla. And now we have, don't even get me started on the detour of the arrest of his wife for taking out a bank account in Miche's name and stealing money from a credit union. She goes into Multnomah County this month, will be in court for that. So we want, you've heard of Court Watch? This is Miche and Layla Watch.
Okay.
We want to make sure that everyone associated with this case are brought to justice.
Yeah.
And that's not only the person that had the audacity to shoot a mother and then come back and get the baby and shoot her twice, but it's also anyone that paid his bails, anyone that stood in the way of him being able to accomplish what he was setting out to do. And that includes Arkansas. Arkansas should have never let him bail out there either. I mean, how many times can somebody be charged with murder and use of a gun and not be held responsible? So I get how folks say, everyone's innocent until proven guilty. The victims, not the perpetrators, deserve to have a place at the table and deserve to be seen and heard more so than a perpetrator of any means, whether it's abuse, gun violence, whatever. The victims deserve to be heard more. And in this case, we're going to make sure of that.
I'm sure you will. I know you will. And so what a blessing to have you and all the members of NWK, as well as the volunteers. I want to give a special shout out to all the volunteers that come out and support all of your advisory team, of which I am a proud member. Everybody, it takes a village and it takes a community, especially to fight against so many wrongs in society. And so I want to thank you.
Thank you
for being here. I want to thank you for all of the work. Sincerely, you know this from the bottom of my heart. And I want to encourage anybody who's been touched at all by, Miche and Layla's story, along with the rest of the countless victims out here, victims of violence and exploitation. If you feel it all in your heart, you want to help, the website is on the screen. And please make sure that you do whatever you can in order to continue helping Michelle and NW Cave.
Media matters, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, for real. And thank you. We'll be right back with more situations and conversations in just a bit.
In 2020, the Black community of Portland came together to stand up to police brutality. Simultaneously, a global pandemic was changing the world as we knew it. More than 2 years later, we're still trying to recover. Now more than ever, small minority businesses are in need of support to keep their doors open. The Black community of Portland also needs safe Black spaces where they can come together to cultivate relationships and new ideas. The XB app aims to empower the Black marketplace as well as the community as a whole. Join us in offering a singular platform that highlights Black community members and businesses as well as local events. One community, one goal, one platform, XB.
Bloom Beauty Collective is where creative entrepreneurs bring diversity and inclusivity within the production industry, making sure that cultural authenticity is presented in all aspects of production, from casting talent in front and behind the camera to bringing cultural awareness within branding and marketing spaces. And how do we do that? Bloom by Design, where we highlight talent in marginalized communities and represent their unique skills and abilities in all things production. Teaching the next generation of talent on how to become true creative entrepreneurs, while assisting companies to be more intentional in having a cultural diverse workforce within their production space. After 7 years, we are now a full-service casting and talent production company. Join us as we blossom into Bloom the Agency. You can find us on Instagram as well as bloom-agency.com.
Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with us today. God willing, we'll be back together again real soon. Until then, make sure you take excellent care of yourselves as well as other people. That is our mission. Also, when you think me, think we, and when you think you, think too. We'll see you next time.
Situations and Conversations with Trey Renee is a Bum Juice Entertainment production in conjunction with Thomas Chung Films, Bloom Beauty Collective, and Allen & Unger Consulting Group. Situations and Conversations with Trey Renee, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on Fox 12 Plus.
Situations and Conversations with Trey Renee.